There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. And I have a great show for you today, I got to tell you. And Rochelle is here. She's incognito because she can't do anything with her hair, unfortunately, today. So, Rochelle, how are you?
I'm doing great, Kevin. If only that was the absolute truth. I think it'd be so simple, wouldn't you? But I am so honored today to be able to be here with Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith. She is a CEO and has a company called the Lutheran Social Services in Southern California. You can visit her website, which is isssc.org. But welcome, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for allowing me to be able to come to your show and be able to talk about what we do at Lutheran Social Services, Southern California. And our website, if I can make a correction, is lsssc.org. So thank you so much for introducing the organization to your listeners.
And, you know, I was looking at your website, and boy, have you got an organization.
Oh, yeah.
You have built this into quite, and I'm not sure what your role in building it was. You're now the head bottle washer and in charge of it all, but you got a whole group of PhDs and doctors and really talented people that are dedicated to the concept that we all should be able to live our lives in peace and harmony with enough food and a roof over our head and all of the things that we value and believe. I think it's a human right, personally, that we all need to work together to achieve that. Unfortunately, and your services that you're offering today are more valuable than they've, I think, ever have been. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. And I like the title of your show. Positivity is really important to me. And when you're in times of struggle, times of stress, and just maybe at your wit's end, don't know what to do, I don't want to say that positive thinking is the only thing, but we have to look at situations optimistically. And that's what we do here at Lutheran Social Services. We try our best to make sure we meet people where they are and offer them opportunities for hope, through housing, wraparound services. And that's a term that's used in the social services realm, but it really is about counseling, intensive care, case management, those types of things, financial literacy, education, whatever we can do to kind of help folks truly look to see if they can rise above where they are. So, yeah.
Well, and I want to get this out early and often. So, Rochelle, make sure you write this down.
Okay.
Because this is a nonprofit organization that depends in many ways on donations and the kindness of people who are willing to help people who have not or are in a space. But as Doctor and I were talking before the show began, most of us are 1, 2, maybe 3 paychecks away from being in a situation where you need help. And some of that is totally and completely out of our control. Do you agree with that?
I do. I was listening to a young man just recently. He talked about how he and his wife had, his wife went back to school. She was finishing her degree, a researcher, and they were living off of $60,000 a year, didn't have any children or anything, and then finally had one kid. And then the wife graduated. They built this business. It was a pretty profitable business and dealt with environmental issues. and they were making in excess of $200,000 a year. And then all of a sudden, because of some of the changes in policies and different things like that, there was funding that was stripped from the research area where his wife was actually being able to get these research grants to help with the business. And they no longer had that income. And that's what I mean when I'm saying that you can make a lot of money today and think I'm okay. But the smallest thing can happen and you can find yourself on the food lines, because he said he knew nothing about, for example, SNAP. He didn't know what it was. And because they were struggling so much, somebody said to him, you may qualify for SNAP. And he had no idea what it was. And these were not people that were druggies or people that, they were folks that were contributing members of society. And something happened that affected their funding, and the money that they were accustomed to living off of was now gone. And so they relied on the SNAP benefits because those benefits helped sustain his wife, and they now have 2 children. So yeah, we are here to make sure that folks understand that, your donations, they go a long way. We rely a lot on government funding, whether it's state, federal, or even local funding. But a lot of what we're doing now is coming out of our own pockets. And this isn't a brag or anything like that. Those of us that are able to do so, to just buy gift cards so that we can give it to folks so that they can go and get $25, $50 worth of groceries. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a big deal. So. Yeah.
It's a huge deal. And Brachelle, I'm going to tell you another story that you haven't heard about me. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
When I was younger than I am today, I was in, and this goes back to the late 70s, in fact. I was an assistant manager at a Denny's, and I was working 60 hours a week. I was making $180 clear a week. And so I was living with another guy, and he suddenly decided he was going to move out. And I couldn't afford to pay for rent for the whole thing. And so we ended up, had I not had a beautiful sister who was willing to help me out and take me in, I would have ended up living in my car. And I had a job working 60 hours a week and still could not make it work. And that happens to a lot of people. Or like right now, unemployment or the job situation is not looking good. And if you lose your job, there's no guarantee that you're going to get another one.
Right.
My son was terminated from his job, and he's a diesel mechanic with crane mechanic experience, very unique field, and he can't find work anywhere. So it's not those of us who are better off, and who can say, well, these people, whoever these people are not taking care of themselves or are making wrong decisions. Sometimes life just happens, and it happens to all of us. And thank goodness there are organizations like the organization that you had, the Lutheran Social Services, that are able to help people, because especially in Southern California, it's expensive to live there. I don't know if you noticed.
I have noticed. I've absolutely noticed. It's very expensive to live here in Southern California. It's expensive to live in California, period, right? I want to say this, though. I think about the Lutheran culture. And back in 1944, when people were returning from war, it was Lutherans that came together. It was a Lutheran church in San Diego. They literally set up these welfare stations so that they could feed and take care of veterans. I want everybody to understand that. So imagine these are our soldiers returning home. And so you had Lutherans that cared so much about making sure that these veterans were taken care of. So that's kind of how Lutheran Social Services Southern California came about. And then in 1946, what happened is the ones in San Diego met up with ones in Los Angeles, and they created Lutheran Social Services of Southern California. And I didn't even come from a Lutheran background, but I tell you what I love about the Lutherans, and I'm sold on what we do, is that every person that I've met in this background, in this tradition, they have in their ethos this idea of service and how they take care of people. Every church that I'm aware of, they have some type of food kitchen or something. And so it's only natural. There's LSSs throughout the United States. We're not the only one. So I want you to know, if you're in your local area, there's probably an LSS with a president and CEO just like me. And they deal with senior citizens and, elder care and all of that, immigration and foster care and that. But here in Southern California, our need is for helping the homeless. It's affordable housing. It's right now, again, we're focused on feeding people, making sure that people are able to sustain their lives, their livelihood. But we do so many other things. And I've already mentioned mental health care, social services, types of services such as housing, counseling, education, people with disabilities. We do probably more than 20 different types of programs in Lutheran Social Services Southern California.
Well, and I'll tell you this, and Rochelle, here's another thing you don't know about me, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I've talked about it. I can't remember everything I talk about from time to time. But I grew up Lutheran. I was Missouri Synod, and I had still hold. I'm not even sure the church is still there because I moved away from it, but I still hold the number of perfect attendance months of 10 years and 2 months. I went to a parochial school called Concordia Lutheran School, and were taught by some of the coolest people on the planet who made virtually nothing as teachers go because it was all privately funded. And the core element of service has always been part of the Lutheran core mission. And so I appreciate what you guys do. And did you know that about me, Michelle?
Yes, I did.
Oh, dang.
Got you there.
When now that I'm a little older, I tend to repeat myself. You need to stop me when I do that, Rochelle, because I've met older people and they tend to repeat the same story again and again and again. I don't want to do that.
Kevin. Your spirit is so young, so when you tell the same story, you don't tell it exactly the same, or the message behind it is different, even if it is from the same story. And I think that's pretty cool. So you keep doing. I'm gonna let you keep doing it.
Well, thank you, my dear, and so, but I've met so many people that are interested in giving service to others and not taking it upon themselves to be better than and stuff. And I also drove a bus for 12 years, so I know what's in Seattle. So I know the homelessness situation, and how some people, there's some people that can get addicted to drugs and that kind of stuff. But there are many people who just can't find a place to live that's affordable. And I live in King County. And doctor, I got to tell you, we're getting almost as expensive as Southern California these days.
Yeah. Before moving to California, I lived in Texas, and there's this idea of, we just get back to Texas, it'll be a whole lot more affordable, that type of thing. And actually, if you go to Texas, you'll see the housing has just shot up because people were moving there, and so the housing is just as expensive, maybe not quite as expensive as it is here in Southern California, but either way. I think it's all relative. People need affordable housing, period. That's what they need. So. And
that is it's a human right. I, I, now I may be in the minority here, but I think everybody in this country needs to be able to eat. They need to be able to have health care, and they need a place to be able to call home where they can put their head down at night and get a safe night's sleep. Rochelle, do you agree with that?
100%. I do. And I want to talk about that more when we come back from break, because there's all those extras too, right? It's not just having the food and the housing and the this and that, but also life. I mean, they're trying to get jobs and trying to sustain that, and having all these things, maybe last minute things come up. Let's say they finally were able to get a car and something goes wrong, and now it's the car, it's the rent, and then what about the job? And it all ties in with itself. So I'm curious on exactly some of the ways you do have to help people through these situations.
Absolutely.
And also, I think one of the biggest things, and we'll talk about this too when we come back, one of the biggest things that we have to worry about now is mental health. Because I
Yes.
think there's an underlying theme of that going throughout the society. And many, many people are walking around with mental health issues and are not getting the help that they need. Again, we're talking with LaSharnda Beckwith, I'm sorry, I owe you an apology. Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith, and she's the CEO of the Lutheran Health or Social Service. Yeah. Michelle, who am I talking to again?
I'll help you. The Lutheran Social Services of Southern California. Go check out the website, which is lsssc.org, and we'll be right back.
And if you got $10, they can use it. We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression. The one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report. The extra minute you took on your lunch break. The packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing. To return the wallet. To fix the mistake. To respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle and Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith. Did I get that close?
It's close. It's good. It's fine.
Okay, Rochelle, pronounce your name correctly, please.
Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith.
That's it.
Very good.
Okay, it's all right.
Well, you see, doctor, there's something that you're going to have to learn. If you were around me for any length of time, for some reason, I was a salesman most of my life, and I can't remember names or pronounce them correctly most of the time. So, isn't that true, Rochelle?
It is true. I mean, sometimes I get called other people's names on our team and I just roll along with it. So I know where the thinking comes from. And before we jump into talking about specifics, I wanted to say too, if you're somebody listening who has gone through something like that or knows somebody or even just has that little bit that you can help, it makes a huge difference. If you can pull out some of the food that is in your pantry that you haven't used or touched, or you're going on vacation or any of these kinds of things, and you think to yourself, hey, I could help somebody with what I do have, please be that person. Makes you feel good too, and it raises the vibration of the universe. So I will let Kevin kind of guide us into which route we can take this conversation, because I do think that talking about the mental health needs to be top priority.
It is amazing to me that one of the first things that we cut as a society is funding for medical help for people that are having issues and mental issues. And I think we all do at one point in time. And I would love to be able to see more organizations like you do, because I know that you work with that quite a little bit, and you help people with that, and to get housing and to get food. You have fed thousands upon thousands of people and created these meals. I got to ask you, Doctor, that must make you feel good from not from the standpoint of self-aggrandizement, but from the standpoint that you are of service, which I personally think is the highest calling that there is, of being service to another.
We do feel good about it, and you're right, not because of, you know, trying to promote ourselves, but because, I mean, every year or twice a year, quite frankly, I go out and I'm the Project Hand, which is one of our feeding areas in Chula Vista, California. And we have another one that these are robust sites in Long Beach, California. But I'm usually at the one in Chula Vista. There's cars wrapped around the block 2 or 3 times, and they're driving through, and we're giving them, food. It is an honor to be able to serve people. What really gets to me sometimes is when we run out of food, and we thank the Rotary Club who's out there directing traffic for us, and when they have to stop the cars from coming through, that can be just heart wrenching when you don't have enough food. And trust me, we give out a lot of food at those particular sites. What we've done this past week, because of what's happened, in our communities, we're in 6 different counties in Southern California. We have over 20 sites, and we've decided to at least put bag lunches or some type of food, some non-perishables at all of our sites, even the sites that don't give out food. So it is very rewarding to want to help people, but it's also heart-wrenching when you don't have enough, when you run out and folks are wanting to, and you can see it. You're standing there and you can see they need food. And so yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road as far as I'm concerned. So what we've started to do is coordinate with various churches throughout the counties where we're in, and we're asking them to connect with us, with the site directors, and help to support those sites with food, non-perishables, because people will just walk in off the street, and so we want to have something to give to them. And that tells you when people have a real heart for what's happening, and they know the impact of what's happening when folks aren't getting their benefits. So, yeah.
So, what country is this happening again in?
So we're in 6 counties in Southern California. We're in San Diego and Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange, LA, and Ventura.
So this is happening in the United States of America.
It's happening in the USA, yes.
Holy, you would, if somebody was just tuning in, and by the way, if you're just tuning in, shame on you. But if they're just tuning in now and they are saying, what third world country are you talking about that they're running out of food to feed people, and it's in Southern California in the United States of America? That to me is just an absolute crime. We should take care of, and this thing about SNAP, and I have no words for it. Have you any?
Yeah, I have words for it. I have words for it.
Well, I don't think you're allowed to say some of those words, Doctor.
But I think what we're missing is the big picture, and that is there's this stereotype, right, that's attached to poor people. There's a stereotype attached to certain groups. And we've, I don't know how many times I have to say it again, that any one of us could be in that situation. But there's this stereotype that there's this person that maybe they have 8 kids and they're on SNAP, and they're abusing the benefits and all of that. And some of the dollars I've heard, they're just exaggerated. When I heard somebody say, "Oh, and this person gets $4,200 a month and all of that. And you know that there's a ceiling on what households can get when it comes to SNAP. But the reality is, when it comes to some of these programs, we're missing that there are senior citizens that are on fixed income, and they're now having to decide, or they have to decide, between getting medicine and eating. There are people with disabilities that are benefiting from these programs, and there are children that's benefiting from these programs. And so I think that when we stop and really get to know somebody that may be on those, and you realize that sometimes there's these exaggerations about everybody's abusing, SNAP. That's just not the case. I'm sure there's some, just like with anything, but not in every case.
Well, kids, I want to paint a picture for you guys. I live in a 55 plus community, and there are people here that have been retired for 25 years. And the retirement when they retired was, and they're on Social Security and they have no other means. And some of them are trying to live on $1,100, $1,200 a month, which gives them $50 in food, maybe, if they don't have to buy medicines, which are expensive as well. And to make a senior citizen who's been here for 70, 80, 90 years and to expect them to make those kind of sacrifices, we just need to do better. And we need to support organizations like yours, because it's important, and you guys give back in a myriad of ways. And one of the things is you also provide help with mental health and counseling and that sort of thing, don't you?
We do. I want to plug that we started a project back in 2022. Actually, it was a vision when I first came on in 2020, but we were in COVID. So we started to look at, I wanted to do these wellness campuses. And so we were blessed to be awarded $35 million from the state of California. And we were blessed to get $5 million from the city of San Bernardino. And of course, we put money into this project, and we're about to open our San Bernardino Community Wellness Campus that will house 140 people. We have a 70-bed men's shelter that's sitting on that campus right now, and we have a federally qualified clinic that sits on that campus. I say all of that to say this, is that from the intake, when people enter, and from them going and be assessed mentally as well as physically by the folks in the clinic, professionals that are there, and then having them go through programs, workforce development programs, to prepare them to go out and into the world, and hopefully transition out of the interim housing that we are building for them into something more permanent and affordable, and then become contributing community folks again. That's a process that takes place, and you have to help people get there. And so we're very proud of, in areas where we do these assessments, we have folks in our rural areas that's dealing with children with mental health issues, and they're qualified clinicians and therapists that we have in those areas, and that's what we'll have on that campus. And so we have a vision that we've been blessed to execute on, and to get funding to help us get that up and going. And then the next step will be our Long Beach Community Wellness Campus. So we're very excited about the services that we'll be providing, which includes behavioral health out at our San Bernardino Community Wellness Campus.
Congratulations. That's a really big deal. And Prashel, you're younger. There aren't any kids with mental problems, are there?
Oh man. I've a new joke that has kind of arisen is of the mental health, because we kind of are using that in a way, I see, especially the younger generation, to allow that to make connections and being more open to it and helping it. Oh, well, I've got that too. We've all got something type of thing. And but that's why we need to pay more attention to it, because that's not how our kids should be connecting and feeling like they're involved. Of course that everybody has their things, but it brings more attention to me for um, the ways that they label themselves and the way that they think of their future and the way they see what is possible, because it's really all wrong. And when you work on the mentality of a child, you change the trajectory of their entire life. So I think that is why it's so important, because I know that if my kids are growing up with their kids, we need to do some work.
And doctor, I got to tell you, like I said, I drove a bus for 12 years, and I saw an abundance of people, that especially kids, who lack hope.
Yeah.
I never thought that we'd have a place where kids would say, I'm not going to be able to. This is the land of the free, and we can theoretically we can do anything we want to, but we have kids graduating from school that can't read at a proficient level. And so we've got lots of issues. Does it seem overwhelming to you at times?
Of course, there's times when it seems overwhelming, but I don't stay in that space very long. I am very much a faith woman, and my faith sustains me. So I don't. Certainly, I understand the value of therapists and clinicians and all of that. That those absolutely important. For me, however, it's about my faith, and so and I'm just going to speak for myself, because I don't want to say, well, if you don't believe like this, then you must not be believing the way you need to, because that's not what I mean. When I talk about myself, when I feel like I'm getting drug into this dark place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just tired of this. I don't think I've ever quite gotten there. I've certainly been overwhelmed and wanted and just wondered. But then I pray, and I read scripture. There's just things that are really important to me that keep me grounded. And I also believe that what I do is a calling. So I think there's a different way that I look at my job and what I do, because I see it as truly a calling, a ministry. I've had a career, and this is a career too, but I had 27 years in the federal government, retired from there, and I was 10 years in higher education, and left there to come to this. And I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. I do blogs and podcasts and all kinds of stuff, trying to let people know that there's always hope. There is hope. It has a lot to do also with who you surround yourself with. That's why I'm proud of our folks that are in Chula Vista, being in the school system with young people, and helping young people see that they can apply to colleges too. And then so many of our young people that have gone through our program, I believe Gabby's program, there's a probably 99.5% success rate. Those students getting through high school and then getting into some of the top schools. Our folks offer people hope. They may not be able to pray with people, or we don't force our faith on people, but I bet you that they are secretly praying for them and wishing the best for them, and doing all that they can to make sure that folks have access, and that they are helped, and that they can call on them whenever they need to. And I see this over and over again. We have excellent people that are out in the field working with folks, because they care a lot.
By the way, we're talking with LaSharnda Beckwith, and I got it.
Very good.
And we need to take our halftime break, but go to her website again, which is, Brichelle?
lsssc.org. Check it out if you're somebody in that area and this is ringing a bell, or you're somebody who wants to help. Like Kevin said, $10, $100, whatever your heart chooses.
Or, if you're one of those people that has got $1 billion, what's $1 million? It's nothing. It's pocket change to you, and you can give it to you're not going to spend that money anyway. Don't give it to your kids. Spend it, and help society get better, and for us to all work together and to become more like connected and more like one than we are now. That would make me very, very happy, which is why we call this Positive Talk Radio. And you're listening, and we'll be right back right after this.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Michelle is here. And Doctor, I got to say, I know that there's somebody in the room with you off camera and stuff. How are we doing? Are we doing okay?
We're doing great. We are absolutely doing great.
So I hope that person who's to your right is happy.
They're happy. They're happy. They're happy. They're checking lighting and different things like that. That's what they do.
Oh, that is so cool. And by the way, again, we're talking with Dr. LaSharnda. There's no R, Kevin. There's no R. LaSharnda Beckwith. She's the CEO, head bottle washer, and has had quite a career in all the things that you've done in federal service. By the way, thank you for your service, and in higher education. And now, when they came to you, I assume somebody came to you and said, Doctor, you should work with us. We think you would have a great time. What was your initial reaction? Was it like, are you sure? Or did you know that this was your calling?
It's so funny because when I tell this story, I think it's strange to people, but we went into lockdown, as all of us remember, back in March of 2020. And I think, I had decided to, okay, maybe I'm going to move back to Texas, different things like that. But one Sunday morning, all of a sudden I get this call, and I'm sitting watching TV, and I just pick up my phone with really not looking at it to see who was calling. And it was this lady, and she was talking to me about this nonprofit. And I said, how did you get my phone number? And that's another story altogether. But in any case, she said that her assistant said that we were supposed to talk that Sunday morning. And I honestly did not remember that. But we talked and we connected. And to make a long story short, a lot happened quickly. I mean, she and I just really connected so well. And then when I met the board chair, he and I connected so well, the nominating committee and all of that. But after I got hired with Lutheran Social Services, all of a sudden, I think it was a year later, she passed away. And she was younger than me. I think at the time, she may have been 50-something years old. And it was just a shock to my system. And I truly believe to this day that she was an angel sent just for that time and just dealt with me so superbly and connected me to the right people. And I believe that I was supposed to be here the way things kind of worked out. So. Yeah. It
is amazing, isn't it? How things just naturally happen, especially when you open your heart, open your mind to the possibilities.
Absolutely.
And I want to talk briefly about that, because possibilities and trusting, putting out by prayer or meditation, however you choose to do it, put out there that you want to live your best life and you want to be of service to others. And you know what will happen? Michelle, tell us what will happen.
Man, I would like to say miracles. Miracles happen because it opens you into a space where you can receive those things, where you can see that. And I was thinking about it, doctor, is a lot of people don't really see what is around to help them when they're in that fog. And I also think of people who have had experiences where they've felt what that is like and they've wanted to share it and continue it forward, and they had a bad experience. Don't let that shut you down. That's a part of life. Take that as a lesson. Learn that um that you got to stay. It helps you almost connect with yourself and know who you are more. Doctor, have you seen that happen with people where there's something clicks and they all of a sudden just start making all these moves and doing all the things they thought weren't possible just because they tried?
I do. It's funny that you had mentioned that. I've done several books, and it really all of my books really is about positivity and about faith and different things like that. But I'm so sold on positive self-talk, right? And it's hard for people to do that if they've never been exposed to that type of thing. They don't know how to talk to themselves, right? And I used to say to folks long before I started writing about it, be careful about how you're talking to yourself. I was at a place once and I was working with this young lady, and she dropped something, and or she was working on this piece of furniture, and I heard her say at least 3 or 4 times before I finally said something. This is many, many, many years ago, not at Lutheran Social Services. We were in retail, and I heard her say, "I'm so stupid. And she just kept saying it. And then finally, I remember I said to her, and I called her name, and she looked up. I says, "Don't say that to yourself. We need to, if people haven't been around or been exposed to how powerful self-talk can be, then they'll say things to themselves, and they're sabotaging themselves. But I have seen when you keep saying it to folks, saying it. When I was working with the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, for instance, women that never even imagined going to college or graduate school, I brought some of the universities onto the site where we were. And I was encouraging them to go to school. And many of them went back to school and got their degrees. And now, they're senior executives within the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. But they needed somebody that believed in them and that encouraged them and told them that they could do it. I've always been that way when it comes to women's issues anyway, because I think that sometimes women in particular, they'll internalize somebody saying that they can't do something and they won't even try. Think about it. Women may make less than men. And Kevin, I'm just going on a tangent here just for a minute.
Oh, no, feel free to tangent away.
Less than men. And when I was dealing with younger women a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would say, when it's time for your evaluation, ask for what you want. And they're like, how? I would say, don't always negotiate your salary, because when it's time for you to go in and it's time for you to, sit down and talk about your performance, your male counterpart, they're going to talk about all the great things they've done, and they're going to talk about big bucks. They're going to talk about what they deserve. You, on the other hand, is going to be humble, and whatever somebody tells you, they're going to give you. Many times, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but a lot of times women would just say, okay, and they would feel grateful. And I'm just not a woman like that. And make no mistake, I wasn't raised around white collar executives in my family. I was raised around pastors. That's what they were. So, but I had to learn all of those things. No, I had to learn those things. And I wanted to imitate people. They were just things that I wasn't raised around. I had to learn, and I had to be around mentors, and I watched people and did things differently. And so, positive self-talk, some of us think it's easy because we're accustomed to doing it, but I think that we had to learn how to do it too. And so we have to help people understand, don't count yourself short. Don't do that. and do it encouragingly, not so that they feel that they're being put down or anything because they haven't learned that skill yet.
Well, have you heard the gospel according to Yoda?
I have not. I have not.
Yeah, on Star Wars, and
Okay.
Luke Skywalker said, "Well, I'm gonna try," and Yoda said, "Do or do not. There is no try." When we come back from this break, and it's just a brief one, so it's just 30 seconds. When we come back from this, I want to ask Doctor about some words that I think, as a person, you need to eliminate from your vocabulary. And Rochelle, you can help me with this, okay?
You got it.
We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. After the longest night, the sun rose again. It painted the sky with colors no one had seen before. That's how life works. Darkness never lasts forever. No matter how long the night feels, your sunrise will come. Hold on. Light always finds its way back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk. And we are entering our last segment. I'm glad everybody's here. And this is going to be a teaching moment. I hope it is for everybody, because I think what Doctor just said about self-talk is so vital. Number one, in my humble opinion, if you don't love yourself, you're not capable of loving everybody else to the degree with which they deserve, and you deserve to love yourself. Rochelle, there are some words that that we have banned, that I have banned from our use, and I'm going to say a few and see if you can remember a few more. Can we do that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
First of all, I can't. I'm stupid. I don't deserve it. I don't belong. Can you come up with some more? How about never? How about any other?
That's exactly what I not. I don't have. I am not capable. I don't want to can be so perishable for us. Anything that is a low vibration saying, probably just and correct it. There's something I learned with my mom that was from I think it was from Deepak Chopra, and he said after you say that to yourself when you're correcting it, you don't have to force yourself to think all these other amazing things that you don't believe. Just say cancel that out, and then move forward, and then do it again and say, oh, hey, I've got this, or I'm capable, or I will, and I can, and I have. Kevin has completely changed my language with myself, Doctor, and it's shown so many other places in my life that I didn't understand how crucial it was.
Doctor, I have to tell you real quick, and then I want your input. There was a time when, because it's easier, it is so much easier to self-depreciate who you are and to use that as humor. I'm too fat. I'm too slow. I'm too bald. I'm too this, whatever it is. And I had somebody tell me one time on one of my shows, she said, I really wish you would stop that. And I said, stop what? And she said, depreciating yourself, because you don't deserve that. And nobody does. But if you don't talk well about yourself, nobody else is going to either. Doctor, do you agree with any of that?
I absolutely agree with that. I know that sometimes people use humor and they self-deprecate, right? And they'll say things about themselves. Man, I could never do that, or I could never own that, or I could never. And I'm going to say this. I know this is going to sound silly, but it worked for us many, many years ago when the book The Secret came out.
Oh, yes.
I read it and I literally just almost slept with that book. But anyway, I read it. My husband read it. My son read it. Right? We all read the book. Right? And even though I've always been the type of person that believed in speaking into existence what you want, and that's a biblical principle. I'm just saying that didn't
Yeah.
just come from the secret. I want people to understand that. Um, so I've always been that way. But the person that came to me and said that changed his life and he had been raised that way was my son, and it's true. And I won't tell some of the stories of things that we believe we spoke into existence, and they did happen. They did happen. I just believe that it's not magic. It's a power in our tongues, right? It's and I don't believe in all that prosperity stuff, but I do believe that when you speak a certain way, you will then behave a certain way.
Yep.
So if you're speaking as if you'll get it, then you'll start to change your habits or the way you do things so that you can align yourself to get certain things. But if you're automatically saying that I'll never get that job, I'll never finish this degree, I'll never do this and that, well, I don't want to call it lazy, but your attitude towards those things won't be as ambitious or as exciting as somebody that's, I'm going to get this. It may take me 10 years, but I'm going to do it. And don't even say that. Just say, I'm going to do this and just stick with it. And I always say that if something comes up that throws you off a bit, it's okay. Brush yourself off and get back up. That's okay. Failing forward. Just brush yourself off. And folks say it's not that easy. Sometimes folks think that if you're at a good place that you've never ever experienced any of the setbacks, and that's just not true. I had to say to a young lady who told me I didn't understand because of my degrees. She says, I absolutely didn't understand. I says, do you know that I couldn't pass statistics in my first degree? And I sat in a garage crying my eyes out, and my husband was at the door asking me why I was sitting out in the car. And I was like, because of how the professor talked to me and really talked to me like I was stupid. And so suppose that had stopped me. Okay. So we've all experienced where people underestimated us or didn't think highly of us or didn't think that we were smart enough or pretty enough or, whatever it is. But that's why the self-talk piece, and also the stuff that we consume, in our minds, and the stuff we read, we watch, all those things, all of that has something to do with how we speak and how we see the world. So if you're constantly consuming junk instead of stuff that's edifying, that can help break that mindset of negativity, that's how you're going to get, be stuck there. So there's just so many ways of being able to overcome that. That's all I'm saying about that.
No, that is perfectly said. That is perfectly said. And Rochelle said something. We also do a music show for Brushwood Media Network, and Rochelle said something highly illuminating about this topic. Do you remember what that was, Rochelle?
Oh man, I'm gonna let you beat me.
Which is her way of saying I have no idea what you're talking about or where you're going to go next. And
Well, the way you said it was so amazing. I'm curious now too.
She said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
And she's right.
Yeah.
And that is so fundamental to why we are here. And by the way, I want to talk about timing, because sometimes we ask for things and we may not be ready.
That's right.
We may need to have a little bit more seasoning, or we may need to have a little bit more experience. But if we say yes to these things, they will show up because it's all in divine timing.
Yeah.
And it all comes from God. And if you believe that, let me strike that. If you know that, then great things can happen in your life. 23 years ago, I was a district sales manager for a major food company. I had 11 reports. I had a wife, I had the house, I had the dog, I had the cat, I had the kids. And I wasn't happy. And I didn't know how I was going to apply it. I didn't know where I was going to end up, but I opened myself up and said, lead me. And you know where it led me? to this interview with Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith here on Positive Talk 20 years later, because that is what I was here to do. And it is my way of giving back and my way of supporting you. We need to talk more about your work, the organization, how people can donate to it, and how they can reach you if they want to donate time, effort, money, prayers, gratitude, all of those things. Have I missed anything, Rochelle?
Food.
Oh, good. Oh, food.
Food. That's where my mind goes.
So, Doctor, we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I just want to make sure that we have enough time to do two things: to tell us how somebody can benefit the organization, how they can give back, and also something that's in your heart to tell our audience, anything you would like them to know.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and Rochelle for having me on the show today. It's been a joy to be able to interact with the both of you. But although I can't see her on screen, I just feel her presence, and I love the enthusiasm that's coming through the screen. To the people that are listening, I want folks to believe that we're all placed on this earth for a purpose, and that we are all here to take care of one another. I don't care if you're a billionaire, millionaire, thousandaire, whatever you are. I believe that we're all here to take care of one another. We're here to be in fellowship with one another. And to me, that means caring for one another. Not to look down on folks because we don't ever know where we're going to end up. And it's not just that. Let's just have hearts of compassion and empathy and care for love our neighbors, that type of thing. At LSSSC, I see our folks doing the work every day. They're not goofing off. They're caring for people every day. What I like for folks to do is I'm going to say we always need funding. Funding is the thing that we need. But we appreciate and do care for taking care of the needs of people through giving people food and clothing and all types of services. You mentioned before about mental health. Mental health, that's a service that needs funding. That's just the way it is, especially in a climate that we're in today where a lot of the funding is cut. And by the way, remember, $1 trillion was taken out of Medicaid, and 70 to 75% of the people that we serve, they are on Medicaid. And so if we could get folks to come alongside and support us, become monthly donors, if they would even pledge and pay in payments or something, that's fine. But that would be so that we can provide services in a time where funding is being cut. And that is the Medicaid type of funding. And what I mean by that, you may say, well, why is that important? We get paid for the people that we see. And that is people that are on Medicaid. And so if the funding for Medicaid is cut, that means we're going to have to cut staff, and we provide less services than we provided in the past. So if you care, we so appreciate any support. And for the folks that want to reach out to us, as you've mentioned, we are at lsssc.org. You can go to our website, and there'll be a phone number on there where you can reach out to us. There's also a donation page on our website that you can go to. And then, of course, praying for us. That's important, at least to the folks that are at LSSSC. We believe in the power of prayer. And so we hope that you'd send us thoughts and prayers and in the work that we do.
And again, we've been talking with Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith. I got it right, I think.
LaSharnda.
Did I do it wrong again?
That's okay. I answer to almost anything.
There you go.
And I did want to make this statement as a parting gift for everyone. Do you know every major religious or spiritual book that is out there, at one point or another, it all says, love your neighbor as yourself. That is the highest calling, and that is how we should all be. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter. Any of that stuff is all superficial stuff. We're all at our core human beings and children of the divine, children of God. So we need to take care of each other regardless. And I know that, Doctor, you agree with that.
I do.
And I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. You're going to have to come back. Rochelle, she's got to come back. Make her, huh? Can you make her?
Yes. Sorry, I'm not giving you that option. We have so much more to pull out of you. And also, thank you so much for sharing right there at the end. I wanted to bring acknowledgement to where you said, once you realize that if you can't find help or you don't know where to turn, create that opportunity for yourself, because we're all kind of doing it. So thank you so much again for being here, spending this time with us. And yes, please come back at the earliest convenience.
Thank you all.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.